Redding, Isaac Hayes, the Staple Sisters, and Prince, legends with ties to one Arkansas native, record producer Al Bell. But before his big break in the music industry, Bell was just the student council president at Scipio A. Jones High School in North Little Rock.
The girls who made up my constituency that got me elected and caused me to run said, we want you to go to the principal and get the principal to let you do record hops or discos after the basketball games and football games.
It was a request Bell wasn't sure about.
I don't know what I can do that. They said, listen, we got you elected president of the student council.
So he asked, and to his surprise, the principal said yes. The school even provided the equipment, but he was still missing a crucial component.
I got it approved, but how do I get records? They said, well, we'll go back and ask our classmates.
So the students loved the idea. So Bell created a system to keep up with their record collection. And once the hops got off the ground, he turned his attention to the music.
So I started watching them dance, and I'd ask them, what is it that you like about this record? Why do you dance, and what is it that you like in the lyrics? And they would start telling me. That's where I really learned how to understand music, understand on an elementary level how music affected people.
He eventually came up with the idea for a show between Scipio A. Jones and Dunbar High Schools, and he reached out to KOKY, Arkansas's first radio station geared toward a black audience. The station helped judge and promote the contest, which of course was emceed by Bell. And a week later, he had a meeting with the general manager.
I walked in, he said, you have an uncanny gift to gab. He said, I'm gonna make a disc jockey out of you.
He gave Bell a job, a mission, and advice that he turned to throughout his career.
He said, you go around to all of the restaurants, and in the restaurants they have jukeboxes, so that the music that they're playing in there, that you hear blacks playing in there, that's the music that they love and want to hear because they got to pay for that. And that's the music I want you to play.
As a high school student, Bell quickly became a popular host and DJ who was proud to play the music listeners loved.
And I'm sure you got a lot of phone calls too, where people would tell you their entire life story and what the song meant to them and how important it was.
Yes.
And always remembering those times in your life that correlate with a certain song.
Yes.
He spent 2 years on the air in Little Rock and another 2 in Memphis before wrapping up his radio career in Washington, D.C., where he found himself playing music for a presidential audience.
And one of my listeners, I'm pleased to say, was Lady Bird Johnson. Well, one day she called me on the phone. I'm so proud of that, like a 16-year-old kid with my new bicycle. She called me and asked me to play Gee Whiz by Carla Thomas. I said, I'm Lady Bird Johnson. Yeah, that did it. That's a highlight in my life at that early age.
Forget ratings, whatever. That's all the ratings you needed.
Yeah, really. I love that.
His time in radio would set the course for the rest of his career, and things were moving fast, something that he credits to the people.
I kept up with people, and that kept me keeping up. Because if you look at people, I mean, they're moving. I mean, not just one set of people, just people in general. And it moved pretty fast.
But in the end, it's all about the music.
I didn't appreciate it until I looked back in retrospect that it was an art form, that music was art. The industry wasn't treating it that way, but music was really art, and still is, art.
We came in as a race radio station in 1956.
KOKY, 4 letters with more than 50 years of history in music.
KOKY has been an advocate for this black community for many, many years.
It was Arkansas's first radio station devoted to reaching a black audience. Initially focused on religious programming, the station eventually tapped into a different audience, teenagers. And one of them was, of course, Al Bell, a high schooler who was still in school when he was given a job as a disc jockey.
So in that time in radio, not only did you introduce and talk on the air and introduce the records, but you got to choose the music that you played.
I got to choose the music.
Which is different from now.
Oh my God.
But then you were selecting the music, and that was a huge part of your job.
And it was, yeah. And what makes it so different from now is that I knew that within the coverage area of that radio station that I was playing the music that the people wanted to hear, and I knew why they wanted to hear. So that gave me confidence in playing the music.
And it was music that Bell said connected people in a dark time.
So, and kids would come into Studio A, look at me play the music and dance in Studio A, and they were black kids and white kids. Now this is right before
This is the 60s.
Yeah, this is 1957.
Oh, yeah.
1957, 1958. And at that time in my mind, I was saying, Well, why are we having all of these black-white problems when I don't see that every morning with these young people?
A few years after Bell left, 12-year-old Mark Dillon started as an intern at the station. He's been in the industry for more than 40 years, and he says there's something about R&B that speaks to people.
The history of the music, if you stop and think about it, the table setters, those baby boomers who were born post-World War II, the Johnny Cashes, the Elvis Presleys, the Al Greens, the different people like that, they brought a lot of grittiness and soul into the music.
And a lot of that sound was rooted in Arkansas.
Al Green is a Forest City, Arkansas area native. He was a part of that Memphis sound that just changed the whole evolution of soul music. It forced you to pick up your game and sing, you know? There've been many. Johnny Cash is an Arkansan. Glenn Campbell in Arkansas, you know? The music influenced everything we hear even in 2020.
That idea and soul are what drives KOKY.
You know, over the years, we've also been able to matriculate into general market people as well. We try to make sure that we create an atmosphere of no color lines. So if there's a record that has soul, we want to be involved in it.
But Dillon says the station would not be what it is without the people listening.
We know that there's so many choices nowadays. It's not always terrestrial radio anymore, you know? And we're fortunate that the parents that have listened to us over the years have taught their children to listen to KOKY, to Power 92. And we've been very fortunate.
When you talk about legendary music producer and Arkansas native Al Bell, you have to talk about Stax Records. Founded in 1957, the record label was synonymous with Southern soul music. But it wasn't until the early 60s that Bell found himself at the studio during his time in Memphis.
David Porter, one of the writers there, came by the radio station and asked me one day to come by the studio.
He loved the music that Stax was producing, so he jumped at the opportunity to visit, and he was welcomed by an unexpected sight.
I look back in the studio, and I see two white guys and two black guys in there playing music. I see Al Jackson on drums, black, Steve Cropper on guitar, white, Doug Dunn on bass, white, and Booker T on the keyboards, on the Hammond B3 organ, black.
Booker T and the MGs were basically the house band for Stax,
yes,
right?
they were the house band. And the MGs meant the mixed group. Most people don't know that.
Really? I thought it meant Memphis.
No, it meant the mixed group.
I love that.
After that, Bell knew Stax was where he belonged. He brought with him some experience from launching 2 of his own labels, as well as an ear for music and a heart for people. And while he was there, he met Isaac Hayes and produced an album that would change the industry.
With the album Hot Buttered Soul, we disrupted the industry as it relates to album sales on blacks at that time, but album sales, period.
He also got the chance to work with other legendary R&B artists.
Otis Redding was the launching pad for Stax.
Such a beautiful voice, so talented.
Oh my God, he was it.
As well as several Arkansas artists.
Tell me about Johnny Taylor.
Johnny Taylor was a dear personal friend of mine, and of the artists, all of them were loyal, but of the artists that I had the most loyal of them all, and the one that was so proud of being on the label.
But one of the biggest moments in his career came at a time of hardship. In 1971, Bell made his way back to North Little Rock to bury his brother, who was shot to death.
I was in here, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 days doing nothing but looking for his murderer.
But he found something else. After the funeral, Bell sat on an old school bus that was in his father's backyard and started to reflect.
I started crying, and I couldn't do anything but cry. And all of a sudden, I heard dum 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 in my head.
It was the bass line of the song, and then he heard lyrics.
I know a place, ain't nobody crying, ain't nobody worried, ain't no smiling faces, lying to the races. I'll take you there.
Somebody help me now. I'll take you there. Help me, y'all. I'll take you there.
That's right, Bell wrote and produced the Staple Singers hit, I'll Take You There.
And I was shocked. That's a record that we released in the marketplace, and the next thing we knew, they were playing it And they've been playing it from then until now.
Then in 1975, Stax went bankrupt and Bell moved on. He would go on to work with the one and only Berry Gordy at Motown Records and eventually launched Bellmark Records, where he helped create hits like Whoop There It Is and connected with music royalty.
Prince called me and said, Al, can you market a hit for me? I said, no, Prince, I can't market a hit for you unless you bring me a hit first.
Right.
With his unique style of marketing and promotion, Bell gave Prince his biggest selling single ever.
Won't you be the most beautiful girl in the world?
And then, in 2011, he was given the Grammy Trustees Award. It's just one of the many accolades he's received in his more than 50 years in the industry. But when asked to pick the accomplishment that he's most proud of, Bell says there are just too many to choose from.
It's hard to say what was the highlight. I mean,
You know you've lived a good life if you can't make up your mind.
that's it. That's it. All I can do is say thank you, Father. Thank
Yeah.
God.